And now for the top story, another point of view on this. Joining us now from Capitol Hill, Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter. All right, Congressman, take your best shot. Where did I go wrong on the Boehner-Obama deal?
Well, number one, the number one point of this deal was that we're going to pay our military and their families. Now, it's unfortunate that they're being used for leverage in this, but they are. But the end state of this is that they were not going to be paid. This is the men and women that are overseas. This is not our constituencies. These are people that have volunteered to go fight for us. They would not have been paid if this deal was not reached. So that was the number one thing in my mind, and I would think hundreds of the Republicans and Democrats that voted for this had the military as their foremost in their minds for this deal. Number two, you talk of it gets a little bit complicated. You have outlays. So $352 million is what's going to be cut, but it still does cut $38.5 billion. But outlays, some organizations, some agencies can spend those over 5 years, or some can spend it within 1 year. That's where it gets a little bit dicey. But true, it was a bad deal. And I'm not saying it was not a bad deal, but it's the best deal that we could get. I would love a conservative dictatorship, if you will, right, where we can dictate everything. But that's not how the founders made it, Laura. You know that. We're doing what we can with what we have, and I think that we did pretty well in stopping what Pelosi and this president were doing for the last couple of years here. I think we're doing great, actually.
Congressman, look, I understand it's easier to sit back and analyze and criticize, certainly, than it is to lead and bring together and keep together a coalition. I get that. And I really think John Boehner is committed to trying to get our fiscal house in order, and he has a hard job to do. I give you all that. But to count stuff like the money that's left over from the 2010 census as a spending cut, I mean, these are gimmicks.
Spent, Laura. That still would have been spent.
That's gimmick
you know
money.
How the government
that's gimmick money. And on all this stuff that projected spending that might have or might have not already taken into account, like the zeroing out of the czars, that was included. And again, I don't want to mire us in all these details, but the devil truly is in the details. And a lot of people, Congressman, who sent you into power, and your congressional seat and others, are looking at this thinking, how do we know it's the best thing we could have gotten? We took the shutdown off the table from the beginning.
The number one thing here, remember, if we voted no on this, a no vote means our troops get defunded on Saturday. Literally, their families are not going to receive pay. That was
Congressman,
the
president might have buckled. No, you're forgetting the other option. Is that President Obama might have blinked,
but he also might not have blinked.
All right, you got to take a risk there.
No, I'm not going to take a risk, and I'm not going to play chicken with the U.S. military. I owe them for my freedom more than I owe my constituents.
So that's how you guys. Was that how you guys agreed to sell this thing to the public? Did you get behind closed doors and say, let's talk about the military?
No, there was no closed door or anything. I'm not in leadership. I'm a rank and file member. I did 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. The foremost thing on my mind were my Marines. That was it, Laura. Plain and simple. There was no closed door or anything. In fact, I've got the only bill that takes the military off the table for the debt limit increase, which I'm going to vote no on. I don't care what they have on it, and takes them off the table for other lapses in appropriations. That's my bill. I don't like the way that the U.S. military has been used as a bargaining chip back and forth, and has been, frankly, for decades. So, but still, this funds our troops. Number two, it still is $38.5 billion. I would disagree with you. Just because there's $6 billion lying around for the U.S. Census that hasn't been spent doesn't mean that these agencies aren't
the Wall Street Journal, the Congressional Budget Office, National Review, all these guys have examined this, including economists. They're all wrong. And this is actually the real deal.
$38.5 billion that would have been spent is now not going to be spent. We cut $38.5 billion.
Did you hear about Kevin McCarthy, Congressman McCarthy's aide, who was equating opposition to this bill internally in the Republican Party to Jane Fonda during Vietnam? Is that the level that the leadership is going to stoop to try to get its freshman congressman in line here? Those kinds of insults and threats?
No, remember, you have thousands of staffers here. Just because one of them sent something out, that doesn't mean that Kevin McCarthy or any other congressman buy into that.
He apologized, by the way.
I will note for you, though, only one congressman who has served in Iraq voted no on this bill today. The other combat vets, they all voted yes. And in their minds, the number one reason was we're going to fund the U.S. military that we sent over into battle.
I hear you. And, Congressman, we always appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you.